Hi, my name is Amit. I'm the artistic director of Gecko, and I'm about to watch The Overcoat, which was made in between 2008 and 2011, and I haven't seen it for quite a long time, and I'm going to do a little commentary on it. Here we go. I'm quite excited, actually. I haven't seen this for ages. Love this show. Right. So this is the opening of The Overcoat. This is Natalia and myself. And to begin with, I really wanted to create an incredibly exciting wedding that was full of ritual, ceremony, highly choreographed. So it was a wedding in itself, but also kind of represented wedding. But that certainly started to grow in its sort of strangeness. So it's lurching between being celebratory and unnerving. And to start off with, it would appear that everything is going to plan. But slowly for the protagonist, which is my character, Akakki, you realise that he starts to fall out of place with the wedding procession, with the ensemble. And it would appear that that everyone's sort of against him, keeping him away from the bride. For one moment at least, the whole ceremony continues without him, and the bride has her own stage, and suddenly she's now engaged in a ceremony with someone else, and Akakki has to fight his way back in. And then Akakki is kind of caught behind a little door, playing with himself. And then he's into kind of an odd solo. We're into a bit more of a nightmare now. And the movement becomes more erratic, more strange, more absurd. Natalia has a more kind of ludicrous, flirtatious kind of sense about her. She's doing a duet with some strange other guy who seems to understand her very well, and they're moving very fluidly. Then we're into sort of a whirling dervish section. The madness of it all starts to take over, although we don't lose the form of choreography. It retains its kind of structure, and once again the image of Akakki alone behind a door comes back. Open the door, and again revealing Natalia with the guy that seems to be taking his place. The whole point about this sequence, that it was always with the knowledge that how it ends would reflect the most heavily on its quality, as it was. So it would actually require the audience to sort of play it back almost. So the idea of it being kind of nightmarish and absurd will then make sense when you realise he's dreaming and he's actually kind of having a, more or less he's masturbating, and then at the end a room gets magically revealed. And now back into the kind of the machinery of the world that the whole of The Overcoat is predicated on, this kind of bureaucracy, meaningless bureaucracy. Again, we have this incredibly strict choreography. Very obvious who the hierarchy is because of literally the height that their desks are placed at. Incredibly difficult sequence to get right. Lots of individual lighting cues that each performer has. I see at the moment Natalia's actually left her light on, which I'll give her some notes on. She hasn't had notes on this for 6 years, but I'll give it to that by email later on. It's one of my favourite Gecko scenes and images. This is just stunning and requires so much connectedness between everyone involved. So immaculately choreographed. Dave Price playing the typewriter like some sort of percussion instrument is a sight to behold. And then you have the red letter sequence, which was in reality an incredibly ridiculously stupid event where the boss of the department says you need to send a letter, an official letter, and that's all the department has to do is send one letter, and it's turned into a 5-minute bloody sequence with Django Reinhardt doing his jazz thing in the background. But it's so beautiful and speaks so wonderfully about bureaucracy and the ridiculousness of authority and and the world that we live in now. The hardest part about the sequence is the focus, because it's beautiful and tight, but it's busy, a lot to look at. And I think we introduced the spotlight at some point to really help the audience say, look here, this is where the letter is, follow the letter. And then of course what it turns into then is the love story with Akakki and Natalia, and that has to be there as well. We have to get the sense he's trying to impress her, and at the same time that he's going to cock it all up and he's going to mess it up. So we have to know what his status is. Very important to our story of the Overcoat, that we get both of those things. That he's failing and that he has to try to improve to impress Natalia. That's the whole story is based. Our story is based on that dynamic, really. So on the beat, everything had to happen very precisely. Finally, Akakki gets it right. He manages to cut the letter. His job is to cut letters. That's what he does. Justifying, I think it's called. They complete the task. Akakki gets a little bit of love. Precision of the green lights going on. So important that those things are right. And here are the results of the test. It's a big nerve, all the green lights go off. And this is the boss. Oh, brilliant. It was only mediocre. This really is just a glorious game of clowning, timing, Francois' ability to hold the audience. Akakki reveals, a little bit of reveal there, he flashes Natalia there, revealing his love interest, of course. And here's Soyao, who is the prince of the department. Very important to set up how glorious he is as a counterpoint to how rubbish Akakki is. So at this point of the piece, you already have set up authority, bureaucracy, the world, the rules of the world. We're used to it now. The audience understand this crazy theatrical world that we have. And then you get the coat. And this is... Everyone treats... it was very important to treat the coat to a religious kind of level. Very important to get a sense that desire was at the heart of the piece. His desire. This was a very difficult technical section, very precise collaboration and movement of objects and manipulation of lights, and all done with performers. This is all performers. There's no lighting cues from the lighting desk. This is all done with performers. Dave Price is holding a light exactly the right angle. I'm falling through a bed, trying to feel where the floor is disappearing from under my feet as the bed starts to come up. I'm reaching through. I'm attached to a harness. I've got to get the distance right, and I've got to bring myself up exactly the right time and switch on the light. I think that was also my cue to switch on the birdie below me. So horribly tricky to get right. In the meantime, everyone's clearing the other elements in the set. And a disgustingly hard thing to hold this position. I'm literally just using my stomach muscles to hold myself in this position, in a horizontal position. And so, yeah, below, underneath, inside his bed, he sees Natalia. She's there, beautiful, extraordinary angle that she's being held up there by Francois. She sees a coat. The coat gives her a ring. It's a fantasy dream, and she's in a duet with a coat at the moment. Akakki sees it all. Sort of underneath the folds of the coat, you reveal this other character that we don't really know yet. This startling 6'4" bald man saying, "Come, take the coat, take the coat, take the coat." Akakki seems to be caught between proceeding and going backwards, as if he's in his emotional state. He's caught between those two states. Technically, the bed is just being pulled back, and before we know it, back into the rules of the department. Akakki suddenly sees Natalia walking through the corridors, and he's after her. He knows what he's got to do. He's got to talk to her. He's got to impress upon her how he feels. Suddenly he's in her office. Lights change, music stops, and she's there. A scene between Akakki and Natalia. This is actually towards the end of the show, where he actually has acquired a coat through the means of a deal with the devil. It's great that Robbie, who played the kind of Satan character, is also holding the light there. It's great. I love that sort of thing. I can see him smiling just in the corner of the screen there. Yeah, constantly alive. Dave Price playing the violin in the background. Beautiful, beautiful sequence. Red flower on Natalie's coat pings out. It's just lit by two street lights. They kiss for the first time. He can hardly... his hands reveal his inner state of disbelief. And now the presentation to God. And this was the way we always thought about it. Whether people saw God or not didn't really matter. But essentially, you have got the coat, you have got the girl, your life is now ascended to something more extraordinary. So way up high, Francois is on a 3-metre platform, corner of the space, smoke, light, mysterious character. The department surround him and congratulate him, look at her ring. Everyone wants to congratulate the underdog. The rags to riches dream is coming true. Akakki will ascend to God, and will receive the blessing of God. In front of God, he'll be blessed. So this was just, I remember a moment in the process of thinking, how far can we take this? How heightened can we make this moment? And of course, he was just a very important person in the story. But in our story, we wanted him to be God, to be the top. The higher he climbs, the harder Akakki will fall. And that was really essential. So right now, I'm undoing a carabiner. Francois holding on to me to give me time. I'm attaching a rope to my carabiner, which is underneath my trousers. The lighting of this was always meticulous and very hard because we didn't want to light the ropes. Yeah, I mean, I think in this you can slightly see a rope behind Francois there and a bit of stuff there. I think we got better and better at hiding that. It's to do with the angle of the light and when to bring in certain lights. And of course, this was also a very tricky thing to get right, to throw Akakki to the ground and for Akakki to fall slowly, which meant I had to pendulum underneath a platform, which is effectively a stiff diving board, get my feet from on top of the platform to underneath the platform and then fall slowly. Not easy. And then fall slowly released to the ground. So that's the crash of Akakki and the desperate disappointment of Natalia. Also a little bit of time here for me to get out of the carabiner and find my way to the middle of the stage and beg her to not discard him, but of course she does. Very simple lighting shapes. You know, Natalia's story, Akakki enters, she goes, he's left alone, and it was about trying to simply frame things. At the end of the show, throughout the show we've seen this kind of foreboding image, a crouched over man in pyjamas effectively. And now we see that character again. Of course it's Akakki, and indeed it was a foreboding image that he would die and come back as a ghost. Sort of haunting Natalia, but also very much just following her, wanting to touch her one last time. Very, very proud of this because technically the light coming from behind was an unusual thing to do. The smoke, the powerful wind machine, everyone moving with seaweed, which was a dynamic that we kind of came up with in the rehearsal room. Very delicate and precise contact movement, description of contact movement, seaweed. And this was always semi-improvised, didn't quite know how people would fall and collapse and move away. And Dan Steele's job was to follow each push with one of these very epic thumps. A lovely thing to do. Really very enjoyable sequence to do. And he gets his moment with Natalia. And as if she can feel his spirit still there, she kind of smiles in the wind of his movements. But as with every part of the piece, Akakki had to pay a very heavy price for everything that he gained, and there again is Satan coming to collect his payment, which is Akakki's soul. Natalia walks off, and just again, all done in this simple light, maybe with a birdie in the centre there, but mostly just with this backlight. And Akakki gets one tiny little sort of death wish, which is just to give her a little bit of impetus to carry on in her life and pursue her life without him, you know. Loved Robbie's coat in this, great coat. But fabulous performance as well from him. Light went out a bit slow there. The birdie, shouldn't really see the back. You shouldn't really see my back there. But it was always good to have the difference in height between me and Robbie. A powerful figure taking Akakki off. And that was the Overcoat. Thank you.